Greetings and welcome to CSINext. Typically, we do one program a month that coincides with the chapter meeting. Just as a note, regular chapter meetings are the second Wednesday of each month, and you may have noticed this is the fourth Wednesday. That's because this is our second program for January, noted as our bonus program. I'm Daniel Hargreaves, the CSINext Electronics Chair. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to open it up with a brief intro of chapter business. The website, CSINext.org, has had some minor fixes over the past month. It runs better on tablets, smartphones, and Windows 10. We had a major bug that created some interface problems, but now those have been fixed in both Edge and Chrome web browsers. Hopefully these fixes are appreciated. Speaking of the web, looking at the latest information, visit CSINext.org. Upcoming chapter meetings, past meetings, blogs, and more can be found there. Now, please mark your calendars for February 13th. We will be presenting Understanding Low-E Coatings presented by Dan Teep. Registration is open at CSINext.org, and for chapter members, you should be receiving the newsletter with that information how to register. Lastly, put one more mark on your calendar for March 13th. The program will be Healing with Healthcare Environments presented by Casey Johnson. Last plug for the website, registration is also available at CSINext.org. If you're not a CSINext chapter member, we'd like to have you join us. Besides the occasional meeting notification, you'll receive the monthly e-blast with program info, access to your own blog, chapter events, and more. So with that, let's begin our presentation. The program is going to be Helping the Owner Help You, presented by Mike Young, FCSI CCCA. If you have any questions, please type them in on the chat box or the questions box on your GoToWebinar interface, and we will answer them at the end of the program if time allows. At the end of the presentation, there will be a survey. If you'd like to receive learning units, please fill out the survey. If you need AIA credit, please include your AIA number in that survey. This is registered with the AIA for CEUs, and we will register for that. With that, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Mike Young.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to what is supposed to be December's CSI's Next presentation. Thank you for bearing with me. I was busy welcoming my granddaughter into the world on that day, so had to push this back. I appreciate your patience for that. For those of you joining us from the new Arctic of the Midwest there, your CSI colleagues are thinking of you, and be safe out there. Before we get into the presentation today, I'd like to provide a very brief halfway report on the fiscal year overview for your chapter. I'm Mike Young. I'm your fiscal year 2019 president, over and above being the presenter for today. And for those of you who can't put a face to my name, I'm that guy. Your fiscal year 2019 board, if you haven't gone to our website and seen this, we have Thad as your president-elect, Cynthia serving as our chapter secretary, Mark is our treasurer, Catherine and Joan are serving as our directors, and not listed is the gentleman that just did the introductions, Dan, who is our website and technical chair is what I like to call him, which for a virtual chapter is kind of a big deal. Many thanks to everyone who helps keep this chapter not only afloat, but moving forward and growing. In addition to thanking the board, we need to give a big thank you to our chapter sponsors for this year. At the platinum level, we have PPG Paints, who in addition to their sponsorship has generously provided funding for a scholarship, which our board is working on rolling out very soon. Thank you very much for that, PPG. Our gold level sponsors are Allegion, National Gypsum, and Bear. And our sponsors at the silver and bronze level are Vitro and SD Graphics. Vitro will be the presenting the February membership meeting that Dan was explaining. For information on sponsorship opportunities, be sure to visit the chapter website or contact myself. And as your membership continues to grow, right now, as of today, we've got 73 members. There's a breakdown of who your colleagues are in the chapter. And as Dan was mentioning, I strongly encourage all of you to take time to visit our chapter website from time to time. There you can find all sorts of timely information, as well as your board's contact information, should you have any questions, concerns, ideas. Now, let's get on with it. Our featured presentation, drum roll please, helping the owner help you. Today's program is frankly a bit of a challenge for me. I have never presented this topic or any topic for that matter as a webinar. Talking to myself is unique. I'm not used to speaking into a cloud or wherever this goes. I'm much more comfortable talking to a group and getting feedback as I present this material, so bear with me here. The topic I would like to talk about today is how to help the project owner help you. The learning objectives were listed in the program advertisement, and I'm not going to take the time to read them here to you. But the actual objective of this program, and actually for each of my projects, is to keep everyone playing nicely in the sandbox and avoid problems that can turn my project into the proverbial litter box. Since we only have an hour to cover a topic that could justify a multiple-day seminar, I need to keep this presentation about the 30,000-foot level. In addition, most of what I cover today is probably not new to any of you. At least I hope it's not. But I do think refreshing our memory about some things may help us stand back and take a fresh look at what we are doing and how we are doing it. So why do I think this topic deserves some attention? Let's start off with some day-to-day things I see as an owner. First off, I need my facility to function. To do that, I need the team to help me look beyond their specific task and think about the big picture. The picture on the left is the mechanical room in our Betcher Concert Hall in Denver. The one in the middle is in our new 500-bed homeless shelter. And the one on the right is taken in the parking garage where I park my car every morning. Simply stated, functionality has not been achieved here. This is an example of an all-too-typical design issue I experience. We have over 300 facilities our department works with. Fortunately, we have pretty good as-built drawings for each of our facilities. Unfortunately, we have pretty good as-built drawings for each of our facilities. Here's a typical floor plan using as-built information. Here's a blow-up of the corner of the proposed remodel, which clearly shows an exterior door. We have an exit sign. We have a fire pole station. And we have a problem. This used to be a warehouse with a raised roller floor that, if the design team would have actually visited the site instead of relying on the as-builts, would have been pretty apparent. I do appreciate the fact the emergency exit sign is still on the door. Here's an example of me as the city helping you specify what I think I want. On the surface, I guess it makes sense that I want the designer to direct the contractor to build the stormwater system to meet my approved standards. So why not just say, meet the standards? That should cover the material and the execution, right? As a side note, please notice that the all too popular section 4 of the format, that's a topic for a whole nother day. So let's see what the AE of record is using to describe their design intent. Here's the reference document. Unfortunately, the purpose of this document is as a guideline for the selection, design, and maintenance of the contract, of what the contractor is to provide. It is also our minimum requirement, and we encourage implementing stormwater structural controls that go beyond these requirements. So what is my contractor supposed to bid? Do I really want to encourage developers to go above and beyond these minimum requirements by implementing the minimum myself? Next example of why I need you to help me to help you is constructability issues. The designer's idea is at the contractor's job to figure it out. My favorite question to the contractor, how did you bid it, is this is one of the things that the finger pointing of contractor's job versus what did you figure in the bid that turns my sandbox into a litter box real quick. Here's a wing wall attachment to a pedestrian underpass for a project of mine. Let's take a close look at the connection. Now, I don't know if the expansion anchor has ever been successfully installed before, but having used a hammer drill myself, I extremely doubt it. This was a redesign per my request prior to bid. And finally, let's look at who is responsible for what. This is from the mechanical design of a $2+ million design build remodel project that I just now am closing out. Let's look at the fine print for the exhaust fan. Keep going finer. The existing fan is a 2 horsepower motor, but may require a 3 horsepower motor. Did I mention this was a design bid build project? Here comes the RFI. Hey, engineer, question from the field. Does the motor need to be upsized or what? Well, architect, I think it does. Let's make it 5 horsepower, and let's see what that does to electrical too. Hey, architect, didn't mean to scare you. I forgot to design turning vanes. I think the owner might need a 3 horsepower to make it work right. The contractor can omit those turning vanes and provide a 5 horsepower if they wish. My intent was to tell you the existing motor might work, but I really don't think so. If the contractor wants to try it, well, that's okay, but I recommend upsizing the thing. What should I name my revision? Well, the owner has an idea what you should name that revision. Again, I could go on all day with examples of what I see as an owner that my team has been putting together, but in the interest of time, we got to get out of the weeds on that. War stories are fun, but so much. So let's start with some basics. Here is the standard tripartite agreement. The owner, who's me, contracts with the design team who hires consultants, and I contract with the general contractor who hires subs and purchases material. I expect, scratch that, hope, the two get along and both keep my best interests in mind. At the City of Denver, we do things slightly different, or what you might see in some of the larger firms or municipalities that you may have worked with. In my job, I am in the position of that of the owner, but I deliver projects for what we call our client agencies. These agencies include parks, arts and venues, safety, which consists of our fire, police, and sheriff departments, libraries, cultural facilities like our zoo, museums, our human services departments, courts, general services, on and on and on. What I like about my job is that I get to be actively involved in projects from conception through design, procurement, construction, occupancy, and into the correction period, which usually results in a remodel, so I'm back in the circle. What I don't like about my job is that if and when things start to go south, I'm the one in charge of cleaning the litter box. Why project manager? Says it all. Let's start with some basic fundamental principles that I feel get missed all too often. Buried on page 16 of the CSI Project Delivery Practice Guide, 2nd edition, is a simple statement. The goal of a project is to deliver a facility. Everyone on the team needs to get that tattooed on the back of their hand. Everything the owner is purchasing is towards the end product of a facility. They're not buying a nice set of drawings as a coffee table book or specs to read as a self-help guide. So it's safe to say that if you're on a project team, your goal is to provide a resource to the owner to get them one step closer to their facility. I like this picture because it helps remind us that a facility can be much more than a building. It can be a bridge, street, utility, monument, stadium, anything. No matter what it is, the core process of delivering it to the owner is the same. Need to be honest too. Everyone on the team also has the goal of making a living, hopefully doing something we enjoy. Everyone on the team needs to respect that concept and ideally help their fellow team members achieve this goal. There is no win-lose. There's only win-win or lose-lose. So who is the project team? CSI defines the core project team as consisting of the design team, the contractor team, the supplier team, and the beloved owner team. That's the CSI version. This team is bound together through a series of individual contracts or agreements. Each agreement includes what is being procured, the extent or the scope, what it's going to cost, and how long you have to do it. In addition to the specifics spelled out in the contract or agreement, each party to whatever agreement it is expects a certain amount of professionalism from the other parties. Another way of defining professionalism is the expectation that everyone will be working together ethically. One problem that I warn my young, green, naive community college students about is that in this industry of ours, something can be totally legal and in accordance with an agreement and be totally unethical. I like to say you see less and less of that on public works projects, but then all you got to do is look at the news. The most important aspect of any team is respect. Respect for the process, respect for others, and respect for the rules. If the 4 primary team members are out of sync, the end product, the facility, will be a mess. In addition to understanding the goal and the other team members involved in achieving that goal is understanding there is a process, a logical progression that systematically takes an owner from conceiving the facility through occupying it, and even back into conceiving another one based on what you have learned during occupancy. Every team member needs to know what that process is, what their role is during each phase of that process, and where the project or facility is in any given time in that process. Performing geotechnical work during procurement phase is not an ideal situation. Not that that ever has or is happening. Unfortunately, as an owner, I see a lot of progress stall in the design phase, usually because of the owner's inability to make decisions to what they want, what they can afford. I like to call this analysis paralysis. Another common problem I run into is my client agency trying to put the proverbial cart before the horse. The most common example of this is wanting to go to bid way too early so we can see what the price will be. In other words, let's skip construction document phase. The design is close enough. And don't tell me that doesn't happen. Everyone needs to know and respect who does what and when. Before we move into helping the owner, let's get a couple of definitions worked out. To make sure we're all on the same page, as soon as I go over these, try to put yourself in the shoes of the owner. I like to say put yourself in the mind of the owner, but that would just be mean. I really like this definition of quality. Note that the parts of the contract agreement define and impact the quality. This is the hardest thing I work through in my client agencies. And as a result, the hardest thing the other team members are tasked with extracting, the hardest thing that the other team members are tasked with is extracting this information. You really don't know what a need is until you don't get it. The problem is when you turn over a facility to someone that has everything they want on day 1, but on day 5, they discover they forgot something they needed. Now they have a problem and they blame you and want you to figure it out. Working in municipal government, I've been programmed to think in terms of best value. We keep our facilities for a very long time. We own, occupy, maintain, and rehab them. So the idea of value over initial cost is a big thing. The other team members need to know the owner's take on this when they join the project team. So what can you do to help the owner transform their idea and resources into a facility? Again, to go over every team member's role during each phase of the facility's life cycle is a day-long discussion. I've touched on the importance of knowing the role of each project team, the owner, design, contractor, and suppliers during each phase. Not only do you need to understand your team's role, but the other team's role as well. So how can the design team, contractor team, and supply team help the owner? As I go through the next slides, focus on what your team represent, what you represent, and look at my suggestions through the lens of the team you are on. Make sure the owner is making decisions using the best information available at the time. If you don't know, don't speculate. Say, I don't know, and help them find the answer. If the owner makes a decision that contradicts your recommendation, let them know in writing. Have them acknowledge it and move on. And try not to gloat too much when you get to say, I told you so. Document, document, document. Provide the owner as much relative information as possible. Talk about the pros and cons. For example, the owner might want a brick building, but you believe that masons are in short supply in your area, which will impact quality, schedule, and cost. First, verify your belief. Talk to your industry resources. Provide some alternatives, such as precast, assuming that's a viable option. Look for new technology by reaching out to your CSI trusted advisors. Explain the risk and benefits of trying something new and remind the owner the final decision to proceed is theirs. Make sure the owner is making decisions using the best information available at the time. If you don't know, don't speculate. Say, I don't know, then find them the answer. Again, through CSI, you have a plethora of resources from design teams to contractor teams to supply teams. Someone's going to know or have experienced something similar in the past and be able to help guide you. If the owner makes a decision that contradicts your recommendation, again, let them know. And again, document, document, document. Paint the picture of the process for your owner. Be clear about things that are totally beyond their control, but necessary for them to purchase from the start to the finish. From due diligence reports, such as Phase 1 environmental reports, to site surveys, to moving costs, and stocking the bathrooms and vending machines on the day they move in. I can't believe how many times I have closed out a project and everybody wonders where the toilet paper's at. Sorry, that's another department. Set the stage for all things that might or probably will impact the project. Things like off-site improvements to the sidewalks, on-site detention, water quality. Help them understand that while it's their property, there are a lot of authorities that will be dictating what they can do with it and what they can't do with it. And those authorities don't care about the cost. Without going into total doomsday on them, walk through all the risks that could impact the owner, weather, labor, competing projects. For example, at the City of Denver, we try extremely hard to never schedule roof replacements between the end of May and the beginning of September, because that is when every commercial roofer in Denver is working on the Denver Public Schools projects. Why compete with them? Be honest about the accuracy of your statement based on the information you have and why you are carrying the contingencies you are. Let the owner know that the contingency will go down as the project moves through the certain milestones and as the risk goes down. Don't get yourself into a bad relationship, no matter how tempting it might be. And again, document, document, document. Paint a picture of what the process looks like and how it fits within the project as a whole. Your process specifically. Look at the overall project process and let them know what you need to do to get your work done. This includes everything from planning, design, bidding, construction, material procurement, everything you can think of. Again, if you don't know the details, but know the owner needs to pay for it, use your network with relationships to get the owner the details or in touch with individuals that can explain them to them. If the owner doesn't allow time to get things done right, you have a choice. Change the owner's mind by explaining the risk and or cost of accelerating, or half-ass things. Lie to yourself lie to yourself that you can get it done and hope that you don't regret that later. Or tell the owner you cannot do what they want in the time they're giving you to do it. Don't be afraid to nag the owner. Call it tough love. Their project, their decisions. Keep in mind that the owner still has their day-to-day things they need to get done, and that the project is most likely an added effort to their already busy schedule. Also keep in mind it is human nature to put off things that are uncomfortable or difficult. If the owner is approaching milestones, check in. If they are stalled and need help, give them the help. If the milestone is passing, be clear about the impact. If you can let the owner know that unless I hear from you, to the contrary, I'm going to proceed this way. Make the decision for them sometimes, but let them know that that decision has been made and you're moving on. Time is money. Treat schedule contingency the same way you would treat budget contingencies. All a schedule is a time estimate or a budget. I can't say enough. Document, document, document. And make sure you share all your documentation with the owner as you document things. Let them know that unless they tell you otherwise, that you have documented, that what you have documented is accurate. If they don't let you know that they don't agree with what you're believing the document is, then that is the reality. This keeps decisions keeps the decisions and the understandings in real time. It keeps things from festering. It's easier on the public side for a contractor to see the design team's contract. The AIA 201 also does a pretty good job of explaining what the contractor can expect from the owner's design team. But it is essential that each team member knows who is responsible to the owner for what. Two sources of frustration on projects I manage is one, when the subcontractors proceed based on a conversation they had with a subconsultant and send me a change order request. My standard response is bill the person that directed you to do that. And two, deferred design. I fully understand the need for it, but the frustration occurs when the rules of engagement do not clearly define who does what. Did both structural engineers and the railing subcontractor figure design the proposal to me, or did neither? Someone's got to do it. Who? Help maintain the owner's memory. Remind them how they selected their team, why they selected their teammates. Understand how you were selected, and don't be afraid to remind the owner the details of that selection and the details the selection was based on. All too often, I need to remind my client agencies that if it wasn't in the bid, the contractor doesn't have it. And if the contractor did carry money for something that was not clear, we wouldn't be talking to them because they wouldn't have been the low bidder. So, what have we learned so far? Only the owner can put the team together, but you do have a choice of joining it or not. If you decline to bid, propose, come to an agreement, whatever, be open and honest with the owner as to why. My biggest pet peeve, and I will admit the industry is has greatly improved over the past several years, is when the design team sells the owner on the idea that they are there to protect the owner from the contractor because the contractor is going to take every opportunity to exploit the owner in order to make more money. If the team is not working well together, everyone is taking advantage of the owner to make more money. And to be honest, that money is probably deserved given the amount of cat box litter the team needs to wade through. Of course, there's always that one contractor. The owner needs to know we are not mind readers. The owner needs to tell us what they want and own their decisions. The team needs to know that the owner is not a mind reader either, and they are relying on you to guide them. What might appear obvious to you, well, it might not be obvious to others. The owner needs to understand that they are the only one that should spend money on their facility. The team needs to respect that it is the owner's money and help them get the most value for it. And lastly, it's all about communication. Open, honest, timely, accurate. And if it's not accurate, qualify it. Be clear on what it is, what assumptions you made, and that what the information is based on. Or as CSI would say it, make it clear, concise, correct, and complete. And remember, it's better to ask the question and be perceived as a fool than to blindly and boldly proceed and prove that you are. Chances are, if the person you are talking to can't make you understand what they are explaining, it's because they really don't understand it themselves. In that case, getting to an answer will benefit both parties. And now for a shameless plug. Ideally, you could convince the owner to get their CDT or at least take the class. Good luck with that. What you can do, however, is train your respective team members. Let the other project teams know about CSI and the benefits of membership. If you need help with CSI resources or have any questions, go to the CSINext website, find my information, and contact me. If I don't know, I will find someone who can help. This actually went through a little faster than I thought it was going to, even though when I rehearsed it, I must have talked slower. Again, this is my first time doing one of these, so thank you for bearing with me. I hope this topic translated okay into a one-way conversation and that you gleaned something useful from it. There's a quick test at the end of this presentation. Please practice your blunt honesty to an owner, which would be me, by filling out the survey that will be sent out to you. I hope you all have a great day. I encourage you to visit the CSINext website. I look forward to seeing you at a CSI event soon. If I see any questions pop up in the next couple of minutes, I'll do my best to answer those. Otherwise, cheers and goodbye.
Thanks, Mike. I actually got one question for you. That's right.
Certainly.
You can see this, so you know this is from me.
Well, I see chat, but I don't see questions.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, you mentioned about 2/3 of the way through tough love, that it's okay, to remind the owner and put them in their place. Of course, as a design professional, one of the things that we're always striving to do is deliver, the vision of the owner. At the same time, if you come in over the top with an ego or, threatening the owner, that, it's a one and done project and it's a continued marketing. Have you come across what's a good balance for tough love that doesn't make you look like an egomaniac?
Yeah, and some of that deals again with the client agency I have to deal with. Our arts and venues people, for example, have a whole different view of how a facility should look, feel, represent the city than, say, our police department. I just finished a facility for the police where it's actually hidden because we service the police vehicles, and frankly, we don't want our citizens to see some of these vehicles that are truly police cars. They don't look like police cars. Tough love to the police department was basically explained to them what is and is not included in the scope of work as far as what they're getting is the exterior improvements and interior finishes and stuff. I leaned heavily on our design team to help me understand how a shop should function while taking into account how they function, how the police mechanics and them function. Arts and venues, again, they're a different animal. Some of their projects, they actually want to select design professionals based on reputation, based on work they've done. If you're familiar with Denver at all, we have our art museum, which is a Lieberg facility that was picked specifically because of that. It was all about reputation. We let the design team have a lot of leeway on that project because we were buying their vision as well as how we wanted it to function. So that balance is tough. What I do look for in design teams is to be honest about experiences they've had in the past on facilities and bring those experiences to me, telling me, hey, watch out for this, watch out for that. Well, at the same time, we need to respect as owner that their name is on it as well. CSI teaches the difference between stakeholders and participants. The design team is a stakeholder. It is their reputation. People in the industry know who designed that building. So if you want that designer to work with you again successfully, you need to remember that as well. Did that answer your question?
I think it did. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Got another one that popped up. I have found one of the most difficult things to accomplish to get an owner to buy into the project schedule. Mainly the duration is longer than what they expect. Any thoughts on how to make this process easier to explain to owners on why construction takes the time it does? Well, that'll lead up the last 25 minutes.
yeah, no doubt. That is a difficult one, and the problem with it right now is schedules are so hard to nail down on the construction side because the labor market is such a difficult thing to predict right now, based on trade. And some facilities or building are impacted more by certain trades than others, just based on the nature of the facility. My recommendation is use the CSI resource of the facility life cycle. Be very clear, and AIA also has some resources regarding this as well, specific to the design cycle. Educate the owner on the process as best you can. Let them know that if you don't have all the facts before you move to the next phase, you actually are going to damage the schedule, or you have the potential to damage the schedule by having to go back and fix something, or to research something and find an answer that is going to create problems downstream. I see a lot of that when, for example, we go to, and we do this ourselves to help save schedule, we'll go to permit at the same time we're going to bid, trusting that those permit documents are very accurate. Otherwise, I am going to have change orders immediately upon receipt of those bids because of what the building department has said. Ideally, you would get all those comments prior to finishing the 100% contract documents. But I, as an owner, accept that risk. I'm hoping that the documents are good enough and that we've done enough due diligence on the front end that any changes that the building department might make will be minor, and we'll be able to react without much impact to the construction costs or the schedule as far as getting the contractor going and getting the permit pulled. With that said, I have been disappointed on a project I'm just finishing out where it was a remodel project, and I had no anticipation of zoning being involved whatsoever, but they had a major impact on what I need to do to that site in relationship to landscaping and some parking issues. So it's tough. Just be honest. You're the subject matter expert, and this goes not only for design but construction and the material reps out there as well. You're the subject matter expert as best you can, and as best as the owner will listen to you. Let them know the process. Let them know what you need to do your job correctly, the risk of not doing your job correctly, the cost of accelerating your job if you can even do that. And again, as I stated, I forget what slide it was, but if the owner is backing you into a corner that frankly you do not see as this is going to have a successful outcome, you can always refuse to do that work. Let someone else take on that burden. Don't put your firm or your product's reputation or your company's fees, if you're hit with liquidated damages, do not put that at risk. You can always say no. It's not easy, but step away from a bad situation.
I think that's it for the questions. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Insight on the topic. Yeah, this has been great. Once again, everyone, if you'd like to receive learning units, please fill out the survey at the end of this program. If you need an AIA credit, please include your AI number. There is a slot for it there in the survey. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.